Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, here we are again for another week of Kendo questions. Fantastic questions this week. We're going to jump to them in just a moment, right after you have made sure that you have liked, shared, and subscribed this video. It's really important you do that, actually. It really does help grow the Kendo community. I say this, like I've said it every week now for a couple of weeks in a row, but you'd be surprised, honestly, about the number of people that come to me and tell me how they started Kendo after finding one of these videos on YouTube. So, you know, by liking it, subscribing to the channel, that sort of thing. I'm sure you've already done it already, but just in case you haven't, it does help YouTube suggest it to other people. There might not be people that are interested in Kendo. They might have been, you know, interested in something similar, but you know, this pops up because it's got likes and feedback from YouTube and stuff like that. They see it, they think, oh, Kendo, that looks fun. They go and start Kendo, and then you've helped grow the community. You've done that, all right? So make sure you do it, okay? And most importantly, don't forget to keep the camera rolling, keep the lights on by shopping at KendoStar.com. That's my website, of course, that sells amazing, fantastic, wonderful, best equipment in the world. Of course, I would say that. So check out our reviews. Ask the people in your dojo, because I'm sure there's people in your dojo, there's got to be honest, using KendoStar. So yeah, we're like the best reviewed online. So get to KendoStar.com. It's awesome equipment and you support the channel. Win-win. All right, let's do it. Okay, right, let's get to these questions. Okay, first one. Andy, this is kind of an embarrassing question to ask. No, it's not. It's more embarrassing not to ask it, all right? If you're worried and concerned about it, it's not embarrassing to ask. But it may help other people. If everything goes right regarding the current situation, I'll be having my Yondan exam in November, December this year. However, I'm quite concerned about showing proper chakuso, especially over the way I tie my dohimo. I've always dealt with an unhealthy dose of anxiety when tying my bogu, and that makes me go with a double knot from time to time. Would it be acceptable for a Yondan candidate to tie his back dohimo with a double knot just in case during shinsa? Thanks a lot. Okay, so chakuso is how you wear the uniform and how you wear the bogu, and making sure that you're wearing it correctly and properly. That's basically what that is. So this question obviously is about presenting that properly at your grading. So there is a correct way and an incorrect way to to wear the bogu, to tie the knots, do these sort of things. And they might seem like tiny little details that don't really matter to anyone, but they do. All right, they do. You have to tie the bogu properly using the correct knots. You can't just make them up or do a different one because you know a better way. It's not the point. That's why that isn't the idea of Kendo, okay? There is an aspect of Kendo, a very big aspect of Kendo that is almost ceremonial, a bit like if you compare it somewhat to, it's Kendo, right? Do it's michi, the way, a lot like let's say like sado, the tea ceremony, yeah, the way of tea. You know, there's a way in which you hold the cup, the way you pour the tea. I don't know anything about sado, but you know, but the way that you do it, or if you've ever done Kyudo, for example, the way that you walk, the way that you hold yourself, is considered almost as important, I think, as sort of firing the arrow and hitting a target. So in Kendo, it's very much the same. The way you tie the tenugui, the way you wear the bogu. Now, there are some variations, but there's some that are not, you know, sort of acceptable either. So, in terms of the dohimo, especially the one sort of behind your back, I know it's something a lot of people struggle with. But here's the thing, yeah, you've got to do it right for fourth dan. And I'm not gonna lie, I fail people for this sort of thing on fourth dan candidates. You know, their kendo was good enough to pass fourth dan, but their men wasn't tied properly, so I couldn't pass him. I wouldn't, you know, I don't see that as appropriate to pass somebody that can't do that sort of level of thing. They haven't managed to figure that out. Now, I know it's difficult to get the hang of, all right? And it was difficult for me to get right at first as well, but it is important. So I'm going to go through it right now quickly on what you need to do to make sure this doesn't happen, all right? So I've got one on my door. This is my imitation Same door of this door, all right? So let me move the microphone so hopefully you can still hear me. Okay, so here I've got it. If we're tying the back himo, all right, what we've got to do is first you tie it this way, right? Now, here's the key to this, all right? Here's the key, all right? Let's say we make the loop, all right? And look, I know people are going to comment in the thing saying, that's not how I tie a bow. That's not, we'll tie it this way and then you'll do it right, all right? So learn to do it this way and then you'll do it right instead of trying to do it a different way, all right? If you learn to do it this way, you'll definitely get it right, all right? So we're going to make the bow out of this side. You see how it's coming out of the top of the knot here? It's coming out the top. This one's coming out the bottom. Yeah? That means this one coming out the bottom's got a wrap underneath this one, not over the top. Alright? It's got a wrap underneath. If we wrap it underneath and make our bow, yeah? And we make sure that I've done these with the wrong himo, so let me just do it right again. Done one with the top and one with the bottom. But if we make sure when we cross these over, yeah, we make the loop, sorry, from the one that's coming out of the top, and wrap it, the one that's coming out of the bottom, around the bottom of the loop, like that, and we make our bow, make sure that the ends are even, alright, it's a bit hard for me to do because I'm not wearing it, and then on the side that you pull, yeah, to adjust this side, take the opposite side and pull them tight like that, and that'll tighten up the knot. And then this part here that connects to the door, pull that as well. That is not coming undone now. And as you can see, it's sat horizontally, which is how it has to sit. Now let me show you if I do it wrong, all right? Let me show you if I do it wrong. See, that's so tight now, it's quite hard for me to undo. Yeah, but it is correct. It is correct, all right? So I'm going to show you the wrong way now. Let me just... Alright, I'm going to try and get a better angle on this for you. Right, so if I take these short ones, alright, same situation. I'm making the loop out of the one that comes out of the top, but this time instead of doing it correctly and coming under the bottom here, underneath this, I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to go over the top like that. It's the wrong way, okay? This is the wrong way. Watch this. Then it sits vertically. It's called tate musubi, alright? This is incorrect. Yeah, you'll fail your grading for this. Alright, so you need to learn to do this. One more time, I'm going to go through it the right way. No double knots, alright? No double knots. You only wrap this around once, not twice. Just once. Okay? That's the first bit, alright? Make a loop out of the part that's coming out the top. Yeah? You understand what I'm saying by coming out the top, yeah? Out of here, one's coming up, one's coming down. Alright, we're going to make the loop out of the one that's coming up. Then... the one that's coming down is going to go round the bottom of this one, not over the top, round the bottom like that, okay? And then we're going to pull it this way, and we're going to gently make sure that, I've not done it very well, but because I'm not doing it properly, but you want to make sure that the loops and the cords are the same length, all right? It's not really easy to do it when I'm holding it on my knee, yeah, but... see if I can manage it. Yeah, when you're wearing it, it's much easier, alright? You want to try and make the loops and the cords the same length. Then, on the side that doesn't pull through from the other side of the cord, pull that tight like that, and then pull tight on that as well. They're the bit that connects to the door, yeah? This part that goes to the door and then to the knot. Pull tight. That's not coming untied, alright? And it's sat nice and horizontally, okay? That's the way you have to tie your door. And you have to tie your men like that. You have to tie your kendogi like that. You have to tie your hakama like that. You have to tie your attire like that. Alright, so you have to learn to tie the knot that way. It's important, okay? It's not okay to do the double knot. In fairness, it's unlikely that the Shinsai-in, the grading panel, is going to notice if you do a double knot. But if they do, you might come unstuck, okay? So my advice, rather than to sort of do the double knot is to just keep practicing that way. Okay, just keep practicing that way. I hope that was clear enough. I know it wasn't great on the camera angle and stuff like that, but I think I've talked about it on the how to wear your bogu video. Okay, so keep an eye on that too. Hello Andy, I'd like to ask you a question that I dare not ask in my dojo. My sensei is 7th dan and is going to retire from Kendo for health problems. The seniors who are going to teach the class are hard stuck in the 4th dan, despite some of them having been doing Kendo for more than 30 years. The new ones, 2nd and 3rd dan, are evolving much faster, and it's a matter of time before someone passes them in grade. Should the class be given by the member with the highest grade, regardless of experience? No. It's not as easy as that. It's not as easy or as simple as that, to be honest. That has to be worked out inside the internal, I hate to use the word, but politics of the dojo itself. Might be appropriate. Maybe those more experienced people will say, yep, now you've got the higher grade, you should do it. In which case, it's great for them to do it. But it might be that, you know, they feel it's more appropriate for them to continue doing it as they've got more experience. I hesitate to use the word experience, but they've been doing Kendo for longer, let's say. Okay. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's gonna have to pan out in that situation. There's plenty of dojos I've been to where the teacher is the lower grade than me, but they're the teacher, so I obviously, follow their class rather than me take over teaching. All right. It's not just about the grade. Okay. It's not just about that. So I think what needs to happen is you have to just wait and see what happens when somebody does overtake them and see how they react to that, and sort of see what happens from there. Yeah. It's not a super easy one. I understand that, but that's the way to go, I think, on that one. Okay, next one. This one was a post in the Kendo Show Early Access group, so I've decided to answer it on here. Can anyone explain the mechanics of Kiriotoshi Waza? I find it quite baffling how two shinai, and especially swords, can come down along the same centre line, but one gets deflected while the other lands square on. Perhaps, Andy Fish, perhaps this would be a good question for Kendo RANT. Would appreciate your thoughts too. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm probably going to give an unpopular opinion on this. But I don't care because I deal in facts. I deal in my opinion. But what I think is facts, right? So have a look at this. I've got both versions. I've got the Japanese one and the English one here, all right? Just in case anyone's worried there's a sort of discrepancy there. This is the book of Kendo, all right? This is everything about Kendo in it, all right? Now, there's some stuff in here that isn't... there's some stuff in Kendo that isn't in here, but most of it is in here, all right? Most of it's in here. So, there's no stuff in here that's like... Well, there's no stuff missing from here that sort of should be in here. Let's put it that way. So, should we have a look? Shikake waza, right? Ippon uchi no waza. Men, tsuki, kote, do. Renzoku waza, kote, men, tsuki, kote, men, tsuki, men, hiki, kote, do, men, kote, tsuki, men, do, tsuki, men. Harai waza is when you hit the shinai off the center line. Harai men, harai omote, harai men, ura, harai otoshi men. That's when you hit downwards. Harai gote, harai do, harai tsuki from omote, and harai tsuki from ura. Makiwaza is when you wrap the shinai in a circular motion. Maki gote, maki do, maki otoshi men, maki otoshi tsuki. Debana waza, debana men, debana gote, debana tsuki. Hikiwaza, hiki men, hiki kote, hiki do. Katsugi waza, katsugi men, shoumen. Katsugi men, migi men. Katsugi gote. Katate waza, katate migi men, katate yoko men, in brackets. Katate tsuki. Jodan waza, men with katate. Men with morote, 2 hands. Kote, katate, kote, monote, gote, and do. Oji waza, which I guess is what Kiriotoshi would be. I'll explain a bit more what Kiriotoshi is I guess it is in a minute. But here's the Oji Waza. Nuki Waza, Suriage Waza, Kaishi Waza, Uchiotoshi Waza. It ends there. Let's have a look in here. Here's the glossary at the back. Now, this is basically copy and pasted out of the Kendo dictionary. It's like a mini version of the Kendo to English language dictionary. Kiriotoshi. It's one sentence. A secret technique of the Itto-ryu. That's all it says. Kiriotosu, which is where the idea of Kiriotoshi comes from. That's got a separate entity. To use one's shinogi to strike down the opponent's sword from above when the opponent strikes. This is an important method of using the sword in traditional schools of swordsmanship. So, it says the same in the Japanese one. I mean, I'm not going to go through that, but it says the same. So here's the thing. First off, the idea is, I've got a couple of pens here, right? So the idea is one person comes to attack, the other person attacks at the same time, cuts through the sword using the shinogi, the sort of side of the blade, to cut through their strike into their opponent. Okay, that's the idea. I'm not going to explain the mechanics of it. I mean, it's a little bit like a reverse suriage in a way, a bit, I guess. But there's two reasons. One, it's not really a Kendo Waza. There you go, said it. It's not a Kendo Waza. It's not in the book. It says right there, it's from Itto-ryu. It's from Kenjutsu. It's from, you know, it's not really a Kendo Waza. And do you know why it's not a Kendo Waza? Because it's not very good in Kendo. It's not, you can do it. It can be done in Kendo, yeah? When they attack your shinai, you sort of cut through their shinai into their men. You can do it. But it's just it's generally just a poor Waza choice. You know, why would you use that Waza? Which is why it's not really included in the Kendo syllabus. All right? So I don't want to explain the mechanics of it because I don't use the Waza. It's not Kendo Waza. And I don't really think it's a good Waza. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, of course, I've seen videos of Hanshi 8th dans demonstrating it on people who are several grades lower than they are. Yeah. But if someone wants to show me a sort of video of somebody doing it effectively at like a high level in like a shiai or something like that, you know, I'd like to see it. You might find one, you know, but let's face it, in the situation where you could use Kiriotoshi, you'd either use Devano Waza or Kaishi Waza, isn't it? You know, I mean, or Suriage Waza, but probably Kaishi Waza in it, really. So I don't rate it as a Waza. I don't even consider it a Kendo Waza. So yeah, controversial take number 1 of the day. I think there's more to come, having briefly scanned the questions before starting this filming. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, I'm afraid. Probably not what you were hoping for. Right, next one. Hi, Andy. I hope you can help with this one. There is a chap in the dojo that's much taller than I am. Every time I fence or do technique practice with him, I get injured as he tends to use brute force and often misses the targets. He's Shodan and the club senpai has been warned on, has been warned on several occasions and should know better, but nothing changes. In Jigeko, I try to apply seme, but he doesn't move. There's no seme to respond back to. Maybe my seme is lacking, but I don't have the same issues even with beginners. I now fear to train with him as I spend each week recovering from injuries caused by him, mostly bruises, but sometimes more serious. How do I fence someone that does not respond to seme, but clumsily blocks or riposts attacks and is so random and upper bodily physical in his attacks? If I wait for him to attack, we end up just standing in Chudan for ages, so I must confess that I end up trying to initiate the attack, leading to the dodgy attacks / blocks and pain. What's the best way for me to fence him to avoid injury? This has gone past the talk to him or sensei stage, so I need a game plan to try and help both our kendo and for me to avoid injury. Many thanks. Okay, that's a awkward situation, isn't it? All right, so look, if you're saying it's gone past the point of talk to him or talk to sensei, so you're saying that he knows that what he's doing is causing you physical pain and sometimes even injury, yet he's continuing to do so or making no effort to improve that. If that's genuinely the case, then, I mean, when you're doing Jigeko with him, I mean, if he's saying if you don't do anything, he doesn't attack you, and you just stand there in ages, I'd just do that. I'd just do that. You don't have to care about improving his Kendo. That's not that's for him to worry about, to be honest. You know, especially if he's ignoring this sort of thing. And then I'd just look to defend myself, to be honest. I wouldn't care about trying to use that person. That person's obviously not useful for helping you improve your Kendo. And like I say, I just avoid interacting with him. If he doesn't attack me, I wouldn't attack him. If I'm not going to get some sort of weird, you know, if I'm worried I'm going to get some sort of weird. Sometimes you have this situation, you just have to focus on not getting hurt, because some people don't get it, and some people are like refuse to get it. They want to think Kendo is sword fighting, or they want to think that it's something like that, when it's not. As I've said before, much to the upset of many people. So you know, if it's painful, you have to stop being painful. You can't. There's no excuse for causing pain to other people if it hurts, and they're having an unpleasant experience, and they've informed you of that. Then you have to stop doing that. You have to. It's not right. There's no excuse for it. So if he's gonna keep doing that, then yeah, I just wouldn't interact as much as possible. If he attacks me, I'd block, and if he doesn't attack, then I wouldn't attack either. If you're worried about him doing some sort of dodgy orgy Waza that's gonna hurt you, you know, that's the best you can do, unfortunately. And you know, at some point, this is obviously going to generate a conversation, I expect, of either him or something saying, "Why are you doing it like that?" And you can just be honest and say, "Well, look, every time I hit you, you hurt me. So, or every time you hit me, it hurts. So I'm just trying to avoid it. I'm just trying to be honest. My goal when I practice with you is just not to get hurt." And either he'll have to change the way he is, or he'll have to carry on doing practice with you like that. So, or you could talk to your sensei and just say, "Look, I'm not comfortable practicing with that person. Please, can I figure out a way of not to do that, because he's not listening to the fact that he's hurting me." So I know there's a bit of awkwardness because he's the club senpai or whatever, but you said it's gone past the talk to him or talk to sensei. So you've obviously had that conversation already. So, you know, something needs to happen. You can't just keep putting up with it, isn't it? You know, you have to do something about it to avoid it. So whether that's, like I say, just avoiding too much sort of interaction when you're actually practicing with him, or just defending from him, probably the best way to do it, innit? I think that's the only real answer, to be honest, other than, like I say, speak to your sensei and say, "Look, I don't want to practice with that guy. It's not working." Next one. Hi Andy, thanks for the rants. I mean, look, I'm just going back to the previous one. It's just occurred to me. I mean, you know, if I was in that situation, and I can't speak for anyone else, of course, but if that was happening in my dojo, one of my students came to me and said, "Look, this person, every time I practice with them, they hurt me, and every time, you know, I ask them to not hurt me, they ignore it and they just keep doing it, or they tell me they're trying not to and they still do it anyway. You know, it still happens. I can't deal with it anymore. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Then I'm going to talk to that person and say, "Look, you've got to stop that, or you can stop practice." Yeah, and I'm going to take that person out of practice. That's what I would do. I don't have a problem doing that, but and I understand it's not always the same in everybody's dojo. So, right, next one. Hi Andy, thanks for the rants. I'm watching every week and they're super helpful. Good. Not a serious question this week. I'm wondering what your opinion is on matches of Kendo versus other arts. For example, Kendo versus fencing, Hima, Ju Kendo, Tan Kendo, Naginata, etc. Do you think it's just a bit of fun, or is there something more to be learned from these matches? Told you there was more controversial opinions coming up. People love this, don't they? And they love to defend it and say, "Oh, it's a learning experience." It's not a learning experience. It's play. It's messing about and it's play. If you enjoy it, fine, do it. You know, knock yourself out. I don't do it. I do not engage in it because I don't. I've been offered the opportunity several times. I'm not interested. I'm absolutely not interested. I don't think there's anything to be gained from Kendo versus Naginata, Kendo versus Tankendo, Kendo versus fencing, Kendo versus Taekwondo, Kendo versus golf, Kendo versus tennis, Kendo versus soccer. It's all the same to me, that, to be honest. So there you go. Go on, write your angry comments down below. Oh yeah, it's about learning distance and all that sort of. No, it's not. No, it's not. Kendo is Kendo, right? Just like soccer players or football players, we say in our country, or whatever, don't practice with tennis players, right? Just because they both use a ball doesn't mean it's the same, and they can learn from practicing like kicking footballs at someone with a tennis racket. Yeah, I just don't think that it's there. All right, and if I'm honest, you know, like, here's where I'm really going to upset some people, but like, Nito is like getting into a grey zone there. Right? If before someone writes there, yeah, but Nito is getting into a grey zone, and that's because there's, you know, when somebody does Nito and they're following the way of Kendo, which many are, the good ones are, then it's not the same as that because they're doing Kendo. But some people don't do Kendo; they just hold two shinai and do something else. So. And that unfortunately sort of looks bad on the whole style of Nito. But anyway, that's a totally different thing. So there we go. I've upset the people that do Nito. I've upset the people that do Naginata. I've upset people that do Hima and all that sort of stuff. Who else can I upset today? Who else did I upset earlier? Upset. I've upset the people that like Kiriotoshi. I'll say, yeah, Kenjutsu. Yeah, okay. I mean it though. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. It's not. I don't see the benefit at all, other than just for fun. If you want to do it for fun, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it or it's not allowed. I don't do it because I'm not into that sort of thing. But fine, you know. But don't pretend that it's helping your Kendo, because it's not. It's absolutely not. Next one. Hello again, Andy. I've recently been having some issues with sweat getting into my eyes during Jigeko. My tenugui is tied well enough. It doesn't move around my head or slip down into my field of vision, but eventually I have to stop and take my men off to wipe down my eyes before jumping back in. Is there thicker or more absorbent tenugui available, or should I try tying it differently across my forehead? So, yeah, I mean, no, there's not a different material you can use for a tenugui. There's a reason that it's partly to do with tradition. It is the material that it is. You should use the proper tenugui. Don't use like something else. It basically, it comes down to where you are tying it. Now, I tie my tenugui reasonably high, and yeah, occasionally that results in sweat running in my eyes. It's something I just have to put up with. But if it gets really bad, yeah, I mean, just try tying it a bit lower, but you don't want it so low that you can see it when you're wearing the men. It's not really right to be able to see the tenugui from the front. So there's that as well. And then otherwise, it's just going to be a case of, yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I get it. Like in Japanese summer, I used to practice, hell yeah, it was like really, really sweating a lot. And yeah, sometimes I really had to get it. I really got in my eyes. So, and if it's causing you a problem, then yeah, just quickly give it a wipe and jump back in. I don't think it's a massive problem. If your dojo doesn't mind you doing that. I think that's probably the best thing, to be honest. So yeah. Next one, dear Andy, I hope you and your family are well. Yes, we are. I have 2 questions for you this time. Hope you don't mind. Of course not. Right, number 1, I was watching the Gyakudo Hidari-do video that you shared recently, and I was hoping to improve this technique myself. I appreciate that it's tricky as you haven't seen my attempts at this. Therefore, I was hoping you'd give me a rundown over some starting points. I'm aware that with this technique, there's a bit more onerous on a hip twist as you strike. Do you always have to perform this strike whilst moving away, or can it be done moving towards the opponent after the strike? Likewise, any tips for creating a good opportunity to attempting the strike so I can try and practice more? Okay, so that's a good question. This is on a blog post that I put up the other day with a compilation of Gyakudo, that's the opposite side do, Hidari do strikes from Japan. I also replied to this and posted the video that I've done about how to improve your Gyakudo, so definitely watch that. But here's the point. 1, You have to keep your back reasonably straight. You have to keep your left hand in the middle of your body. All right. Lots of people just try to bash the the door like this, right? And then the hands are like off the middle, like there's a bash like that, just with the hands. You have to keep your left hand in the middle, and the way you do that is as you strike, you turn your hips so that the center of your body turns as well with the shinai. All right, that's why you have to turn the hips as you do it. You can hit it and go backwards, or you can hit it and go forwards, but it's much more difficult to do that. But it's less risky of receiving a counter strike. And in terms of the opportunity, you have to really get the opponent to a point where their feet are sort of locked, frozen, and they lift their arms up this way to block and really expose this side of the door. If you don't get that, it's very rarely considered valid. So you have to you really have to think about applying the semi. You have to have the good, strong semi, get them really afraid so that they go this way, bam, Gyakudo, okay? And that's it. The rest of the points are covered in the video that I've done. If you search the Kendo show Gyakudo, I've got a video explaining exactly how to improve your Gyakudo techniques. Next one, 2. I've had the pleasure of being at some seminars where the leading sensei will do a lecture, and I've always enjoyed these. I was curious, if you were to be invited to deliver such a lecture, what would you discuss and talk about? Thanks as always. Well, there's a lot of things. Obviously, it depend on the context of the seminar or the people that were present at the seminar itself, but most likely I would talk in depth about Yuko Datotsu, because that's the most misunderstood thing in Kendo in the West, or outside of Japan, in my experience, is the actual criteria of Yuko Datotsu. Lots of people really misunderstand it, and even people that are at reasonably high levels, and that's why you see sort of people that are like, well, I say reasonably high level, I mean, yeah, most people that are like high level obviously get it, especially if they're like refereeing at top level. But that's why you see a lot of like 3rd dan, 4th dan level people that like go online and whinge about like the shimpanning at the World Championships or something like that, because they don't really get what's happening. But they think they do, because it's that sort of Dunning-Kruger effect. And I was the same, like when I was 3rd dan, I thought I knew it all. But you know, yeah, I think I talked most about that. Whether it hit home or not, don't know. Next one. Hi Andy, do you have any tips on training hiki fumikomi? I can never get the sound or timing just right, thanks. So this is about the techniques going backwards, or hikiwaza, doing the right fumikomi. It's quite difficult. You should watch the video I've done. It's an old one now. I recorded it back in Japan with Max about tsubazeriai and hikiwaza, and I talk about how to do the fumikomi while going backwards in that. But there's no tips other than what's in that video. I mean, unfortunately, the way to do it, start with slowly and start with big movements. Start swinging and then and do the fumikomi at the same time and go backwards. Yeah, this way. Yeah, this way. And then as you get better, try to make the swing smaller until from your tsubazeriai you can do without it. And then it's just going to be practice. There's no shortcut, unfortunately. You just have to keep practicing it. Okay. So like I say, slow it down. Start with a big swing so that you can time the stamp with it. And don't think about, don't think about jumping back as you hit. Lift, hit and stamp, and then go back. All right. Use the stamp to propel you backwards. I think that will help you a bit more. Next one. Hi Andy, I started Kendo early last year after watching some of your videos and have been loving it. There you go. See, this is what I said at the start. Make sure you're liking and sharing and all that sort of stuff so more people can say this. However, I soon will have to choose my university placement, which means I will have to move away from the dojo. Problem is that the universities I prefer don't have any nearby dojo, and the only one that is near is for Iaido. I could go to the university in London that I've been accepted to, which would mean there'll definitely be nearby dojos, but this would be a lot more expensive than the alternatives. My overall question is how do you deal with students that start practicing but soon have to move away, but they still want to keep practicing? What could be the most feasible thing to do in my situation? I was thinking maybe make a Kendo society in the university, but I'm not sure how I'd go about that as well. Thank you for the time and answering the questions. So yeah, do not choose your university based on whether it's got a Kendo club or not. That is a bad thing to do. Bad idea. Do not do that. Choose the university based on what you think is appropriate for your education and your career prospects. All right, do not select it based on whether it's got a Kendo club or not. There'll be a way for you to practice Kendo, right? There'll be a way. Find out which university you're going to, and then reach out in the local area to see what the nearest dojo is, right? See what it is, and see if you can even just get over there once a month or something, all right? Look into making a Kendo society at a university. That's how the majority of university clubs in the UK certainly have sort of started. Have been students that don't necessarily have a lot of experience doing that. See if you can get in touch with a local, when I say local, the nearest dojo, even if it's a little bit away. See if they could help you maybe with the university society. Like if you set it up, obviously don't do any, if you, the admin stuff, don't put that on them. But, anything you can set up, if you can set up a hall at the university and get a group of people together, would the teacher of the nearest dojo come down and help teach maybe every other week or once a month even, and then you can just practice what they're doing. But I'd try and do something like that. Then when you're out of term time and you go back home, then you can go back to your normal dojo as well and practice, isn't it? So you might not be able to get practice 3 times a week or something, at least not at the start until you get a society up and running. But if you really want to do Kendo, that's what you could do. All right. I think that's your best option. Don't just pick a university based on whether it's got Kendo or not. How are you and how's your dojo, Andy? I just want to say thanks for the positive spirit videos. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good, really well. And the dojo's doing super well as well. My dojo, Preston Kenshinkai, in the northwest of the UK, is doing great. Yeah, super busy. Which is good. Hi Andy, I've watched your video how to wash your kote from some time ago. Can I do the same with my deer skin palm and reinforcement kote? The stuffings in my Praetor and Kaisei kote made of pure deer hair, or is it mixed with synthetic materials? Thanks for the Kendo RANT. So yeah, in your Praetor and Kaisei it's deer hair. Yeah, you can wash it the same by hand in a bucket, but what you have to do is just make sure that they fully dry out, and you might need to pop a bit of oil on the leather parts if they dry out a little bit too much. Something like neat's for oil, or something that they use for saddles and stuff like that. Anything sort of leather oil should be fine. But once you've applied it, make sure it dries out fully before you start using the kote, or they'll be kind of slimy. So just do one set at a time. Don't do all your kote at once and then you've got no kote to go to practice with. Because, you're talking about a process that could take a couple of weeks from start to finish, getting everything dry and everything. So bear that in mind. But you definitely can do that, okay? You definitely can do that. That's it. We got there. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for all your wonderful questions. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.